And so we have a lot of interesting topics, and one of the ones I wanted to point out was what happens when you reach the top. And this mainly pertains to Leffen, but also this can also be talked about in terms of any competition where a person reaches the top of the competition but doesn't really hold those results. And so Leffen in particular wrote some really harsh self-deprecating tweets on himself in regards to his performance after Sandstorm, saying that he sucks. And so not only does he hold other people to a really high standard, but he holds himself to that standard as well. And in recent performances, he hasn't really done that well. Clearly above everyone else that that isn't the Big Six, although he lost to Axe. But if we really break down his statistics, it hasn't really been looking good for Leffen over the past 2 months in particular. And so, in fact, Leffen is 0-9 in his last 9 sets against the Big Six. Now, granted, most of those are against Armada, who's been doing really well, but he's lost his revenge sets to Mango, Hungrybox, and has also lost to PPMD. And so things have looked really cold for him when we looked at the beginning of 2015 after Apex, and he was actually around 6-1 against the Big Six, and we around there just said, yeah, he belongs. For the people that were a little bit later on the bandwagon of Big Six and whether or not Leffen was in it, after Apex, after defeating Mango twice, after beating Armada 3 times, after beating King, the last of the Big Five, he beat everybody finally. But then after that, he kind of fell off, and it comes to a variety of reasons actually, and we see this a lot. Not just at the national level, but you can also see this in the local level where one person achieves some sort of level of success and then they fall off afterwards and they get frustrated and all these other peripheral things that you wouldn't think about come up when you're at the top. And so one of the examples I like to give is Jeremy Lin and Linsanity. And Jeremy Lin, when he started for the Knicks, he kind of came out of nowhere, third string point guard, pulls a string of marvelous games, scores 28 points, like 38 points on the Lakers, and has all these like great performances, and we're like, oh wow, like this guy's amazing, he deserves like a really nice contract. And then he plays the Heat a couple weeks later until Insanity, and he gets destroyed. LeBron and the Heat, they have a specific game plan to cover all of Jeremy Lin's weaknesses. They have scouting reports, and now he's on notice, and he has like a dreadful like 1 of 11 game, has like 8 turnovers, only 8 points. And so once you kind of reach the top, now other teams, other players begin to take notice of you. Whereas if you're just like a rising player, you take a set every so often, but you're not quite at that level, well, the people at the very top won't care for you. And that's why people didn't initially care about Jeremy Lin, is because it's like, oh, this is like a one-time fluke. But once you develop some credibility, now the top players and the top teams have to respect you. They have to say, okay, I had to start studying this player. I had to put individual attention on his weaknesses, what he likes, and how to play that matchup. So it's maybe a sign of respect that players like Mango have to prep for Leffen by playing Falco Fox a lot. You see Armada prep for Leffen in Theorycraft, and I'm pretty sure players like PPMD and Hungrybox are Theorycrafting to see how they can beat Leffen. And so it's kind of a sign of respect from the other top players. But the reason why you can beat a top player once or twice, but then you kind of fall off later, is because they begin to adapt and try to figure it out. But that's a mix of them being really good and taking extra time to just prep for you, and also respecting you in those regards, as opposed to a random Joe Schmo that doesn't really matter to them. And so that's one reason. Another reason is just external pressures. So, and this is brought about from a lot of other people. So when you start to do really well, then these expectations get put on you, especially in the national spotlight. I've never experienced it personally because I'm not good, but when you look at Leffen, it's like now he's not a player that we want to get top 8 or get top 12 on a national. This guy is now expected to get top 3. Whether or not he puts it on himself or fans are putting it on him, there's a lot of expectations on him, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on his stream, to perform really well. And it's not like he can just walk in the park and just beat Armada, or Mango or PP. It's really hard. It's not as simple as just saying, yeah, I'm just going to beat him, because they're really good players. And then when you play these matches, it's not a matter of like just playing the game and just like going on this improvement path. It's like, yeah, like you're not focusing on the fame or the credibility or the reputation when you're rising up. You're just wanting to do your best and take out names. There's no really expectations. So if you lose, it doesn't matter because it's like nobody expected you to win. So you don't have social media pressure. But when you're the better player and you lose, then you're going to hear the brunt end of it. So a lot of players, when they have this level of respect and these expectations on them, when they get hit or they lose a stock or something's not going to go right, then that there's always going to be that notion on the back of your mind. It's like, okay, like crap, I don't want to lose this match. And rather than just paying full attention to the match, you're focusing on your perceived reputation. You're worrying about not losing. You're thinking about what other people are thinking. And granted, we live in a culture of no Johns, but it is a real thing that players have to deal with when they play, and it's actually really hard. And that's something that Zeus said, that it was fun. Melee was a lot funner when he was, rising the ranks and upsetting players. Because there's no pressure, there's no flack, there's no trash talk if he loses. But now, like if he loses to somebody, everybody gets on his case, and that's a lot more pressure to deal with. And so those are just a couple of reasons why it's just really hard to maintain being at the top. And overall, I hope that Leffen recovers. There's no strong indication of whether he'll fall off or continue, and maybe he'll have a resurgence and figure things out. But I just wanted to just bring some light to why people can rise and then suddenly kind of like drop off right away.